I don't want this to be just about sadness. I want it to be about hope. And I'm going to connect it to I'm going to start off talking about this year for us, me and Shira. We're going to read the Tehillim now, and it reminds me of as soon as it happened, and as soon as we heard about October 7th, our Shabbats were so full, and ever since this past year, we've had so many more people than we've ever had every Shabbat, without fail, every week. And people standing up, that they're not normally that involved, and suddenly they're getting more involved. We've really seen an uptick of involvement, and it's been so amazing. So that's what I want to focus on. I actually went yesterday on my own, I biked there, to the Nova exhibit, and I felt like I'm not going to wait forever till I decide to go, and I'm going to Israel on Monday. I want to go and see what they did, which is amazing. And anyone who's here, how many people here went? Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, if you didn't go, you should still go. You've got till the 20th of October. They extended it. It was meant to be till today, but they extended it till the 20th. They brought a lot of things from Israel, from where the Nova was, the festival, and they brought them here and they made an exhibit, and they did such a great job. So there was a whole area where they have pictures of all the people that were killed, and people can write notes. I wrote this. It's a year later exactly. We are all in so much pain, but the heroes of that day taught us so much. You brought light to the world. You gave us clarity of what good is and what bad is. You taught us who our enemies really are. You gave us unity, and we will do everything to continue your light and show the world what it really means to bring God into it. Am Yisrael Chai. So I really think that besides for the fact that yes, what we lost was terrible, and that's something that we're still losing, the soldiers and the war and everything, we've lost so much and we're all hurt from it. But look how much we gained. And that's something we need to ask ourselves. What have we gained? And use that, because that's the light that they brought into the world. Whenever someone leaves the world, for whatever reason it is, they leave a legacy, they leave a light. And all these people that died for just being Jewish left a light. They left a light. And their light was that we need to be more united. We need to come together. And so many more things happened after that time. I think that the Jewish world, got clarity of who their friends are. Who's your real friends? You know, some people that you thought are your friends, and then you stood up for their movements, and suddenly when it's for a Jewish cause and it's one of your own, no. We can stand up for other movements, but when we have to stand up for our own, it wasn't so easy. So with that, I'm going to say together, and we're going to go to page 47. We're going to say a very short Tehillim together, and we're going to slowly translate it and explain what it means. So 47. This, by the way, you'll see that almost every psalm, this is psalms written by David, and almost every single one of the psalms that we have is a song. It starts off as a song. Even if he's sad and he's talking about his enemies, he starts off at a song. Why is he singing? Because he knows that he's a Jew. He knows that a Jew is a Jew is a Jew, and we're never going to get wiped out. We're here to stay. Yes, it's true. There's pain on the way, but we have history behind us, and we have a whole future ahead of us. So we're going to say this together. Say with me the Hebrew, and then I'll translate it. Okay, so Lam Natseach, you guys can see it, page 47. Lam Natseach Mizmor LeDavid. This is a song that was conducted by David. Again, he made it a song even though he's in pain. Ya'ancha Adonai beyom tzara. Hashem will answer you on a day of pain. Yesagevcha Shem Elohei Yaakov. The name of the God of Jacob will reach you. Because according to Jewish teaching, our forefathers, they never died. Their energy is with us forever. Yaakov Lomet, the energy that they brought together and all the good that they did stayed and stands behind us, and that name will reach us. Just like our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, they were, all of them, they went through different types of pogroms and hate. But yet, guess what? We're all here. Okay, so that's what it means, that the name of Jacob will reach you. Yishlach ezercha mikodesh. He will send your help from a holy place. Where's the holiest place in Judaism? Jerusalem. Where's the holiest place in Jerusalem? In the temple. We all face there. So for years on end, for years, thousands of years, every single day, 3 times a day, Jews have been praying in that direction. A lot longer before Islam and a lot longer before Christianity, we've been connected to that land and specifically to that area in Jerusalem where Temple Mount is. So all that energy and tears, there's an ocean of tears that's being picked up from all the years. And all of that gathers there. And with all that energy of all our past, do you ever think all of those tears are going to go wasted? That's never a Jewish belief. Never. And Hashem is going to help us from that place, and He will support us from Zion, which is the place that we all faced from. Specifically the place that they're trying to destroy right now. There, from that place, we'll have all our help that we need. Yizkor, let's say number 4, Yizkor kol minchotecha. God will remember all of your offerings. Who was offered on October 7th? Who was sacrificed on October 7th? All the Jews that were killed. So God is going to remember all of those that were taken from us. Anyone that's taken them from us because they are a Jew, they are like the rose in the thorns. They're like the beautiful flower, the best of the best that got taken away from us. So Yizkor kol minchotecha means Hashem is going to remember Yizkor. He's going to remember all of those people that were taken, and it's not going to go in vain. Ve'olatcha yedashne Selah, and all of your offerings, your burnt offerings, will be accepted forever. Meaning, don't think for 1 second that all this that we went through is for no reason. Everything at the end is going to bring a lot of good into the world, however painful that may be. Yiten lecha chil vavecha, He will give you as your heart desires. V'chol atzatcha yemaleh. And all of your plans will be fulfilled. That's the mission of the Jewish people. It will be fulfilled eventually. Neranena bishuatecha. One day we're going to sing and dance again. Isn't that the theme of the Nova exhibition? Neranena bishuatecha. But this time we'll dance not just for a party. We'll dance because Hashem is with us as a people that are close to Hashem. Because you saved us. Uveshem Eloheinu nidgol. And with the name of our God, we will raise our flag. We're not going to raise a flag of death, of destruction, but the example of the Jewish idea of God. And that's a beautiful idea of God, of love, of oneness. And we demonstrate that as we are the example of it. And if you look at the Jewish people, how do we demonstrate? How do we stand up with our flag? In a beautiful way. Uveshem Eloheinu nidgol, in the name of our God. By the way, the Magen David has in it all the Hebrew letters. One time maybe I'll do a class, but it has in it, hidden in it, all the Hebrew letters of the Hebrew alphabet. So Hashem, we're gonna wave the flag in the name of our God. Yemale Adonai kol mish'alotecha. Hashem will fulfill all of your requests. And it's happening as we speak. Truth is coming more and more clear, and all of our requests will be fulfilled. Atayadati, now I know. Ki Hoshia Adonai Mashiach. Hashem has saved us with His anointed one, which will be Mashiach eventually. These are the words we're going to say in the future. Ya'aneu Mishemei Kodsho. He answers from His heavenly place. Bigvurot Yesha Yamino. With strength and victory of His right arm, which means with chesed, Hashem does great miracles to save the Jewish people. What was that miracle a few days ago, right? What was the miracle? The end, just at the end of the year. Missiles. Do you know that every single time you look at the time of the year And what's going on is related to the time of the year. You remember when it happened? So they were telling you, look at the Torah. Bereshit. What does it talk about Bereshit? It says Hamas. One of the first words in the Torah is Hamas. Every time, did you know that we have 101 hostages? Did you know that we blow 101 shofar blowings on Rosh Hashanah? Isn't that crazy? Every single time something's happening, it's connected. We blow 101 shofar blowings on Rosh Hashanah, and we have exactly 101 hostages during Rosh Hashanah in Gaza, unfortunately. Okay, so everything has a bigger plan, even though it's painful and difficult. But that's the way that we as Jews believe we walk around. There's a bigger plan, and we have to look for little details to hold on to hope. So, Eile vareche ve'eile basusim. This is the enemies. They all come. This is literally for the Palestinians. They come in their horses and whatever, because they don't have cars anymore. So they come, Eile vareche ve'eile basusim. Some come with their chariots, and some come in their horses. This was the sign of strength. When you had big armies, hundreds of thousands of people charging at the Jewish small little nation. And they come with all their wealth. But we're not afraid. V'anachnu b'shem Adonai Eloheinu naskir. But we, the Jewish people, in the name of Hashem, our God, we will call out. And you know what happens? This is history. Clear. Hema karu v'nafalu. They dropped to their knees and fell. V'anachnu kamnu v'nit odad. When did they drop to their knees? Just recently with the beepers. They fell, right? They dropped to their knees and fell. And we got up, arose, and we were invigorated. Okay? We're not necessarily happy. We want the world to be a better place. It does say, Bin folo ivecha al tismach. Don't be happy when your enemies fall. But there's another place which says, Avod reshaim rina, in Proverbs, that when wicked is taken away, it's rejoiceful for the world, because more light and more clarity is in the world. So they fell, and we get up and we keep going. Adonai Hoshia, Hashem saves us. Hamelech, the King, Hashem Melech, the King, Ya'anenu, answers us. B'yom korenu. It might not seem immediately, but the call has been sent, and the response is going to come. Okay, and the call. If you go if you go to the Nova exhibit, you'll see lots of people taking little videos, hiding and taking videos on their cameras, and talking to themselves. And they were calling, and those callings don't go unanswered. These are young and innocent people, and they called. Every word that we say gets recorded and taken, and it doesn't go unanswered, and it will all come back and kept forever. You know, we said this a year ago, and everyone was we were all, including myself, was so broken. And look now a year later. We're still broken. But something in us says that there's more clarity in the world. Something in us says that there's more unity in the world. And we have to use that to continue, to focus on all the good that we got. And remember that they come with their horses and their rockets and all the things that they have today. And all they do is dream of rockets and killing and death. You want to see a proof that we value life versus, you don't need it, it's pretty obvious, but we value life and they value death. When they sent rockets from Iran, 200 ballistic missiles without any direction, without knowing where it's going, they killed some of their own people. One rocket went back in, and 5 of their people got killed. And then, when it landed in Israel, so one of the shrapnel killed a Palestinian. Did they mourn? Were they sad or were they celebrating? They were celebrating. Why? Because all they want is Jewish fear. All their goal is death for the Jewish people, to destroy the Jewish people, to wipe us out. So even if they sent all these rockets and they hurt themselves, it doesn't matter. The main thing is, our goal is being fulfilled in their eyes, which is causing fear and destruction amongst the Jewish people. They don't care what happens on the way. But the Jewish people are the exact opposite. Yes, it's true that we will fight back. And when those planes are shooting back and killing them back, we're still in pain for those that we lost. We never say, oh, you know what, we lost a few, but you know what, at least we're killing some of them. No, we're in pain with what we lost, and we're even in pain for what they forced us to make them lose. This is not humanity. We don't want them to be in that situation. And on Rosh Hashanah, our whole prayer is about Kol Ha'olam Kulo. Meloch al Kol Ha'olam Kulo. We pray that God should be understood as the real way of God, not this fake idea of what God is. But the real understanding of God should be understood in the entire world. That's the whole prayer of Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah's prayer is that everyone would accept Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimloch L'Olam, the true definition of what God is. An infinite being that is all loving and really demands from us to behave and bring His light into the world. This is a lesson that I learned this year. Do you know what the lesson I learned this year? It's this. We are called in Isaiah, the Jewish people are called by a prophet, Or Lagoyim, a light to the nations. What happens if somebody's sleeping in dark and you come in and you turn the light on? What happens? Do they get annoyed with you? Of course, they're trying to sleep and you came and you switched the light on. If the guy wants to sleep and you turn the light on, you're blinding me. So what would they say? Idiot, turn it off. That's the Jewish people. We are a certain light, a real light in the world. And when we are in the room, when we are in the Middle East, right, in the room of God, when we are in our room, we are bringing so much light. And some people love it. They accept the light. They're getting awoken up. Wow. And some people say, this light is blinding me. It's too bright. Turn it off. We can't have that light here. And that's the battle. So we're very glad that we're the light. We're able to bring light to the world and we're fighting. But there's some people that want that light extinguished and taken out. But I'm okay with that because at least I'm on the side of light and not on the side of darkness. At least I'm awake. I'm not sleeping. Okay, so we're going to light a candle. And although it's October 8th, but it's irrelevant. We're still all very much connected to the time. And we're going to light that candle so everyone can light one. And you could think of all those that have been perished during this war, including the soldiers as well. Seen this book, Angels in Orange. Unbelievable. So Malachi right here is an angel in orange, right now. He's definitely an angel in orange.
We're going to continue.
So, we'll do the fundraising, we'll do it later.
We have very inspiring words, guys. Please take a seat.
I want to share with you two stories I've not told yet. I've told quite a few stories from here on Shabbat. Angels of Orange is about a non-profit organization. They are around the world. They are around the world. You can find them in every Jewish community. And it's called Hatzalah, United Hatzalah. And they are a paramedic organization, non-profit. And in Israel, of course, run by Eli Beer, who is on a TED Talk, is a massive, functioning organization. It's parallel to Magen David Adom, which is the regular paramedic ambulance of Israel. But this is a non-profit ambulance system in Israel. They have helicopters, they have everything you can imagine, and it's all a non-profit. It's unbelievable, and they rely on all the volunteers from local communities. So in the religious community, even here, one time Tehillah, my daughter wasn't feeling too good, and I called Hatzalah straight away, and they came within seconds. They stay on the phone, and they put me in touch with the ambulance service. But whilst you're anyway waiting for the ambulance to come, you call Hatzalah first, And then they send dispatch people that are local, that are EMTs, that just live in the area. Jewish people that are in the neighborhood, and they come straight to your house. Within less than a minute, they were already here. And it's amazing. They've saved thousands of lives just because it takes 4 minutes for anything serious to happen, to really have a change in the body, in the brain, if there's no flow or anything. 4 minutes, and 4 minutes are crucial. And for that reason, this organization was created. So they made a book called Angels in Orange of all the people that were in Hatzalah that day, that they were called up. And stories of them going south, not even knowing what they're getting into. And many of them only knew when they saw the scenes. They thought dead people everywhere. Maybe it's because of the rockets. They didn't realize, it took them time to realize that there was actual battle going on and fighting, and people that broke through the fence and came in, and there was a breach, and they didn't know about it. And only when they saw that they were literally in physical danger, they realized. So there was a lot of confusion on that day. I want to tell you 2 stories that are really powerful and connected to also Yom Kippur somehow. So this is a story of Karen Gale and Sergio Garelnik. Apologies if I didn't pronounce them right. But they lived in Modi'in, somewhere near central Israel. And they are grandparents at this point, so they have no children at home. And they are also professional EMTs and ALS experts, which means that they are not just regular EMTs, they also have advanced life support care experience. They know how to use, you need a specific EMT for that if someone's literally needing life support, you also have to try and bring them back to life. Special EMTs are able to do that. So this couple, they made it their job. They're not Israeli originally, but they made it their job from when they moved to Israel many years ago to become paramedics until they even became the ALS experts, advanced life support experts. So the story's told in this book that it was the morning, they living in Modi'in, and they are a religious couple. They go to the synagogue, and it was Simchat Torah, it was the day of celebrating the Torah. 6:30 in the morning, Karen was about to go out for her regular walk, and then she hears the sirens. She says to herself, no, I'm not going out, I'm staying home. They're used to the sirens, but she said, I'm not going for a walk, it's not reliable, it's not responsible, I'm staying home. And her husband says, well, I'm going to shul. And he does, he goes to shul just around the corner, and as he's about to leave, they get a notification on from their unit. The head of Hatzalah is making an emergency call. His name's Itzik Kara, and he radioed in to all medics throughout Israel to all be on alert and to be ready. And so obviously Sergio goes to synagogue, takes his machine with him, his walkie-talkie, whatever it is, and he goes to shul, and he feels during prayers that they hear more sirens, and he feels his phone is vibrating, he's getting calls, and he realizes that they need to get out, they need to go. So he goes home, and they actually get a call. They needed not just an EMT, they need an ALS expert to go down south ASAP. This is very early in the morning, and this couple said, okay, we're doing it. We can do it. We have no kids at home. We can just get in and go. So they did, and they were instructed to first go to the warehouse to get vests and helmets. I think their warehouse is in Bet Shemesh, so they had to go out of the way first to get to the warehouse of Hatzalah and to get protective vests and helmets. They told it's going to be dangerous, so they went. And it was the holiday, and all the food that they had was hot food, getting cooked, getting on the fire, because it was Shabbat, ready for the meal. So she said, I'm not going to take food with me. She decided quickly she's going to change, and she said it was good she changed to black clothing later on, but that's the clothes she chose. And she took she saw this food, but it's hot food. I'm not going to take that. She didn't think she's going to be that long. So she left that, but she said, maybe I'll be hungry. Typical Jewish mom. Maybe someone's going to be hungry. I'll take with me. So she opens the cupboard. She realizes it's Simchat Torah. She already packaged all the candies and snacks for the kids, for the synagogue. And there was one bag of lollipops that she had with her. And that bag is what she decided to take with. She says, okay, I'll just take that. And she puts it in a bag. Maybe I'll need it. Maybe I'll need some sugar later. She just puts that in her bag for comfort. And they go. And they go to the warehouse. And they packaged everything. And that's it. They went. They get to the warehouse. They put the vests on. It's heavy. Extremely heavy vest. They're not used to it. But they're instructed to go to a place called Cheletz, which is in the south, right near the border, but it's a little further out, next to Kfar Aza, but a bit further out, and there was a danger zone, but not as dangerous as Kfar Aza, which was completely infiltrated. So as they're going down, they couldn't bear the armor, it was too heavy for them, they take it off. She says it was getting way too heavy and uncomfortable, but as they get closer and closer, they are seeing rockets have fallen, and shrapnel, and there are rockets everywhere, and there are continuous sirens. So they decide to put it back on. And as soon as they get to the Cheletz crossing, this area outside of a kibbutz called Cheletz kibbutz, there was a crossing that they later made the main headquarters for all ambulances, actually. So there they saw another ambulance, and the ambulances were instructed to go to Sderot, not knowing what they are going to see. All they were instructed is go to the entrance of Sderot, and they did. And we know that at the entrance of Sderot, there was a big fight happening. And as soon as they arrived, their ambulance a car came flying towards them. It was a soldier who was injured. And not just injured, he was hit with shrapnel on his arm and in his head. But the bullet missed his brain and he was bleeding. He was shot at 8:30 in the morning. And at this point, it was already 12:30. And he was in serious pain, and he tells them, please just put me to sleep, and they know that the first thing you do is to heal the wounds first. First you try and put bandages to stop the bleeding, which is what they were doing, and miraculously they make it out of there, and they get to the hospital where they drop him off, and that's when she realized, thank God, I have black clothing that I changed to, because there was so much blood everywhere. So I don't want to go with too much details, but I'm going to tell you a little bit, I already did, but a little bit of... So they go back again to Cheletz, and this time they went on Route 232, which was called later the Avenue of Death, because that's where you saw all the cars that were running away from Re'im and from all the different areas, and there was just one car after the next burnt, and people, and it was terrible, terrible scene. And that's when they are driving and they get another soldier. They get to Kfar Aza. They're still confused. They still don't know. This is at 12:45. They only did, you understand, one ambulance. With all the traveling that this couple did, they only saved one, they saved one person. They later met this person. But you understand that it took how much effort you need in order to save all of these injured people. But they went back straight away without even hesitating once they got to the hospital. I think it was Barzilai, and then they went straight back to the Cheletz crossing. And again, they were told to go this time to Kfar Aza. Kfar Aza was where there was serious fighting, and they were confused. They see terrible stuff on the way. Battles happening at the entrance of Kfar Aza. They were instructed, get out of the vehicle immediately. They stop, they get out, they didn't realize, then they realize that the soldiers are all lying on the floor. They start hiding behind their truck, and there's bullets going everywhere. And that's when they hit them that this place has been infiltrated. It's not just rockets, this is a real war. And at that point, flying through all of the fighting, an army jeep comes, and in it was two families. And these families were all shaken to the core, and they were covered in blood. They were brought out from one of the first houses in Kfar Aza that they managed to save them and bring them out from the soldiers, were bringing them out into to safety. And they brought them to the entrance of Kfar Aza, and they were sent to her ambulance, to Karin Gale and Sergio Garelik's ambulance, these two heroes. So they were sent to their ambulance, and these two families, covered in blood. She sees even a 3-year-old boy who's completely shaken. It's like something that she's never seen before. And they realized that it wasn't them that was injured, it was people that they were with. And as soon as they come towards the ambulance, they get out of this army truck, they come to the ambulance, she says the sirens started going off. And as soon as the sirens went off, they had to take cover again. And the shock and trauma that these children were having was something out of this world, which was when she suddenly realized she has those lollipops. This child is screaming, this 3-year-old kid, and it's uncontrollable. She takes out the lollipop and she gives it to the child, and the child is quiet. And then the sister is watching, so she gives it to her sister also. And as she was doing it, she sees how the father of this family, of these 2 kids, was so touched. And that's what she did. She gave to the other kids of the other family, the 2 families that came into their ambulance, and she gave them something as well. So she says like this, this is her story. I cut out a lot of the details because if you want, you can get the book, but it's really worth getting this book. It's unbelievable. So she says like this is her final message. I felt such gratitude for the merit of that day. I'm thankful to put those lollipops in the bag. I saved many lives that day. But when I handed those lollipops to the children, it felt just as meaningful as when I had been able to stop the bleeding of wounded soldiers in my ambulance. Some people, their need is a wound, but some people, their need is a lollipop. Everyone's got a need. And I believe that this didn't start when she gave the lollipop to the kid, but it started when she was in her house. When she was in her house and she said, what can I, just a 1-second thought. She had this one thought. I'm going to take some lollipops in case someone needs it, in case I need it, in case I need some sugar. That one thought was so big. And when you read this story, I mean, there's so many stories here, but you read this story, it touched me because I'm like, lollipops? People are dying? Lollipops? But yes, that's the need of that child. And that's what was needed at that moment. And that was also saving a life. Who knows how much trauma she has helped that kid get out of in that moment. The father of watching someone being there for his own children at that time. Unbelievable. So one small thing, one small action that you do in your life, you don't even realize, you bring some, I'm not saying that you should run around with lollipops in your pocket, but every small positive action that you do, you don't even know how far that's going to go in the future. Isn't that connected to Yom Kippur, where we want to become better? And the little thing that we do in this time of the year of saying, I want to be a better Jew, has such implications for the whole year ahead of you. Isn't that connected? One small thing, I'll take lollipops. A Jew says today, one small thing, I'll take on a new mitzvah this year. I'm going to be a little less lashon hara. I'm going to be a little kinder this year. That small thing, we don't realize, in Hebrew they call it the hashlachot, the outcome of that one small thing that you do for the rest of the year. Isn't that amazing? Okay, so now I want to tell you one more story and then finish with some ideas about Yom Kippur. So this is a story about a young man who wants to be anonymous in this book, and he says that on Yom Kippur 2023, last year, this is a week before October 7th, just the beginning of October last year, he made a promise to himself. All year, he doesn't keep Shabbat. He's not religious, he doesn't keep Shabbat, but he said to himself, this year, I'm going to keep the next 3 Shabbats. Till Simchat Torah, I'm going to keep Shabbat. And that's what he did. He kept his first Shabbat. As soon as Yom Kippur finished, he took on one Shabbat, which happened to be on Sukkot, and then another Shabbat, and then Simchat Torah came, and he said he already had plans to be at the festival. He was at the festival with 12 of his friends. This is Simchat Torah. He's down in the south, and it's coming Friday night. We know that the festival was on Friday night Shabbat, okay, October 7th. And he says to himself, I promised myself I'm going to keep 3 Shabbats. I'm not going to do it. So he decided that it's not for him, the party. He wants to go and find an Airbnb somewhere, and he convinced 7 of his 12 friends to join. 7 of them, of the 12 people that were with him, he convinced them to join, And he said, I'm going to pay for the Airbnb, and I'm going to pay for the food. We're going to have a great time. I'm going to pay. Please join me. I don't want to do Shabbat by myself. Please join me. And that's what they did. They found a place in Ashkelon, somewhere near the beach, a beautiful place. And they rent out this beautiful Airbnb, and the owner agreed to cater the food for them and everything. They left Re'im, and they arrived 30 minutes before sundown in their apartment that they just rented that Friday night. And that night, this guy has a dream. His best friend, who passed away in 2017, drowned in the Kinneret. His name was Yitzchak Isaac Ben Yosef. That's his name that he wants to give of his friend who passed away in 2017. That night he had a dream. And this friend of his who passed away in the Kinneret a few years back was sitting there like an angel and smiling at him. And he told him, he was telling him, you did something very special tonight. And that's how he woke up. He woke up the next morning with an image of his friend that died in 2017. And he's now in this Airbnb, and sirens are going off. Without understanding what happened, within no time, they learned about all that was happening in Re'im, and he got saved, and his 7 friends that came with him got saved as well. So what's the message? That, it's important to keep Shabbat, but also a very important message. A small undertaking that you say to yourself, I'm going to do 3 Shabbats this year. A small undertaking that you take on, and its outcomes can be so, so great. Okay? And I think that that's a very important idea in Judaism. So here's an idea that I wanted to share with you in relation to Yom Kippur. So answer me. Listen to this. So do you know how we do weddings, right? The guy gives the ring, and what does he say? Does anyone know what they say? Hareat mekudeshet li. Anyone know? Bedad zu, with this ring. Behold, you are betrothed to me. You are promised to me. We're now connected to each other, no one else. With this ring, kedat Moshe veYisrael, like it's always been done for Moshe and Israel, like the way that the Torah and our generations have always done it. Now, in a marriage, you can also write a condition. So when you get married, you can also say, behold, you are married to me on condition that I have $1 million in my bank account. Okay, you can do that. But if you don't have $1 million in the bank account, what's going to happen? Does the wedding work? No. You have to check the guy's bank account. And can you imagine the rabbi's there doing the wedding, and he's like, say, hare. And he says, hare at mekodesh. He reads the words, and then he says, on condition, I have in my account $1 million. So if he does not have it, the rabbi will have to say that, no, the wedding is not good. And if he does have it, then the wedding is good. But the rabbi can't remarry them, and he can't undo the marriage. They'll need a get. So he has to first find out what's in their account and what was in his account at the time, and see if he really has $1 million that he owns, and then the wedding works. Listen to this. The Talmud says in Kiddushin, what happens if you have a very, very bad Jew? He's sitting eating a McDonald's burger with fries. Sorry if that's what you do, and I made you feel very good. I'm just giving an example. And he's on Yom Kippur. Can't get worse than that. With his shiksa girlfriend. Right? So he's got a McDonald's burger. What else can he be doing? And then he turns around from his shiksa girlfriend, and he looks at a beautiful Jewish girl. And he says, it's Yom Kippur today. Behold, you are married to me. He has 2 witnesses. Behold, you are married to me, he says to the girl, on condition that I am a tzaddik. I'm a very righteous man. And we all know, not so tzaddik right now, right? He's eating that burger. So if he says, on condition that I'm a tzaddik gamur, and we know he's a rasha gamur. He's not a tzaddik, he's the opposite. And he says, on condition that I'm a tzaddik. And she says, amen, thank you. beautiful. I saved you from that shiksa. And she takes the ring, and they, are they considered married? On condition I'm a tzaddik, but he was just, messing around. So is he a tzaddik? He says, on condition I'm a tzaddik. Are they considered married?
He could change.
Says, what did he say? He could change. What? Yeah, but it was on condition that he's a righteous man. Was he righteous with the burger, with a chaza cheese dripping out his mouth? Huh?
Maybe tomorrow.
Huh? What do you say? Oh, says the Talmud. Listen to this. The Talmud says, Gemara in Kiddushin 49b, if you want to see it. The Talmud says, they're married. Maybe not in that scenario, because the Talmud doesn't say that scenario. That's weird. But they're married. How are they married? Because probably he thought in his head to do teshuvah. There's a few seconds between the time that he gave her the ring to the thought in his head. Between us, we're like, I can't trust that. But between God, in his head, he did teshuvah. It could be that in his head, he had some form of regret. And if he did some form of regret in his head, he's a tzaddik. He's considered as Judaism, from a Jewish perspective, as a righteous man. With the cheeseburger dripping. Righteous man. Why? Because he regrets what he did in his head, and we could consider that the marriage worked. Huh?
If he does it again.
So then again, maybe in that moment, good question, in that moment that he finished, and he says, behold, you're betrothed to me, we still consider that as a marriage. You'll have to fix it. We'll have to do a get. Probably I'll suggest that to get a get. But for God's terms, tzaddik. Because in 1 second, he thought to do teshuvah. Does anyone understand this? Is this making sense? Listen to this. What happens if a guy his entire life was an evil man? Or evil woman? That happens too. So he was an evil man or woman. And his entire lifetime, evil. Theft, gangs, drugs, whatever, all the other disgusting things. And guess what happens? McDonald's burgers, yeah. And then what does he do? Last second of his life, he says, I'm sorry, I regret everything I did. What does Maimonides say about such a guy? Listen to this. It's actually a Talmud in Kiddushin also. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the one that wrote the Zohar, the greatest of the greats, he says like this. If he's a Rasha Gamur, Kol Yamav, he was an evil man his whole life, and in the last second he did Teshuvah, he regrets it, we don't mention to him ever again his bad that he did in his life. And God will never mention it. All the evil that this evil man did, he'll never stumble on it. On the day that he says, I'm sorry. He regrets that second alone, he starts being a tzaddik. He stops being that evil guy, even if it's seconds before he dies. Isn't that crazy? That's how we consider someone that in one thought can switch his lifetime from being very wrong to being very good. Just a thought. Now here's the big question. If that's true, then why do we need Yom Kippur? What do we do in Yom Kippur? We spend a whole day saying, I'm sorry, and we say, Ashamnu, Bagatnu, we say, we're sorry, Chatati, Aviti, we sinned, we did it by mistake, we did it on purpose, we did it this, we did, right? We spend the whole day saying that I regret it. How does that work? I thought in 1 second, if you just think, then you're a tzaddik. So how is it that from a Jewish perspective, actually Maimonides says, listen to what Maimonides says. What is tshuva? A person can't just do teshuvah and say, oh, in his head, I regret it and that's it. No. Maimonides says, a person needs to leave the sin that he did. Then he has to remove it from his head and he must commit to never doing it again. And it says, Umodeh ve'ozev yerucham. He has to agree, he has to say out, I did this thing, I shouldn't have done it. I regret what I did, and I don't want to do it in the future. Then that's a person that did teshuvah. Okay, someone who's prison, who's done the worst crimes. Maybe for humanity, he needs to still be in prison. For the judges and for the human courts, he's in prison. But in God's eyes, he's a tzaddik because he regretted it. And if he says it out, Maimonides says it's not enough. You have to also say it out. So how on earth, it's a contradiction. In one place you see that in 1 second, a guy is a tzaddik. If he says, behold, you are married to me, on condition I'm a tzaddik, he's a tzaddik straight away. And then in another place we see that it takes a long time to do teshuvah. It's a lifetime of work. You don't just say, oh, I regret what I did and that's it, move on. Right? Like you said, what happens if he just goes and eats the burger again? That's not enough. Right? In a relationship, is it enough if you just like did something wrong and they say, oh, I'm sorry? No, you have to actually prove it and commit not to doing it again and show that that's going to make the relationship fix. You can't just say, I'm sorry, I regret what I did and that's it. But for some reason in Judaism, between us and God, when I say, I regret what I did, in 1 second, just a thought, that's also good. But on the other hand, the Talmud does say that you need to do a whole process of tshuva. And we see this many times. And you know what? The answer is, the Chinuch answers, a great scholar, the Minchat Chinuch, who explains all the mitzvot, one of the great scholars, he answers this question. And he says, it's not a contradiction. Not a contradiction. When a guy says to himself, or a girl, I regret what I did in the past, straight away in God's eyes, wow, you're amazing. You regretted it. You tasted it. You tasted that burger, and now you say you don't want it anymore. Well, that's not actually so big, because probably that burger was disgusting anyway, and now you don't want it again. Of course you don't want it, right? But you tasted the sin. Let's say the sin was sweet. You tasted the sin, you left, and now in your head, you say, I don't want to do it anymore. In God's eyes, that's amazing. That's phenomenal. That's brilliant. Think like that. Listen to this. There was this man in the Talmud. His name was Rabbi Eliezer ben Drudia. Eliezer ben Drudia, and he was not a good guy his whole life. It says in the Talmud that there wasn't one prostitute that he wasn't with. Okay? He wasn't a religious, he got the title rabbi, and I'll tell you why, but he didn't start off that way. And he heard that there's this island where there's a prostitute that he's not been with. And he starts getting his way there. He takes out his pay, and she realizes this man has done, she knows she's heard of him, and she's disgusted by him. And she says, I don't want you. She didn't want him, and he was so shocked. It was an awakening for him that she didn't want him. She said, ugh, and she didn't want him. And Eliezer ben Drudia started thinking, he had an awakening in his life, and he started thinking to himself, wow, what is wrong with me? And it says that he went and sat, listen to this, he sat between mountains and Gevaot, Harim u Gevaot. How do you say Gevaot? Hills. Hills are mountains. Hilltops. He sat in between hilltops and mountains in a hilly area, and he said, mountains and hilltops, please ask for me forgiveness. I'll tell you what this means. So they said to him, hello, we're going to ask for you forgiveness? We need to ask forgiveness for ourselves. Because it says that sometimes the skies make a lot of storms and they can damage the mountains. There's things that can happen that can hurt the land, like earthquakes. We need to ask forgiveness for ourselves. Right? In 1 second, God can make mountains move. So then he screams out, heavens and earth, please, ask for me for forgiveness. I regret my whole life of what I did. I feel so empty. So they said, what? Ask for your forgiveness? We need to ask forgiveness for ourselves. Because it says this and this and the other. Then he said, sun and moon, please ask forgiveness for me. So they said, what? Until we ask forgiveness on ourselves, we need to ask forgiveness for ourselves. And then he says, stars and all the mazalot, all the planets, ask for me for forgiveness. They said, what? We're not going to ask for you. We have to ask forgiveness for ourselves. And then he realized, it depends on me. I can't blame the mountains. I can't blame the heavens. I can't blame the sun. I can't blame the moon. I can't blame the stars. It depends on me. he started putting his head in between his knees. Everything here has a very deep meaning behind it. There's a lot of Kabbalah meaning. And he started to cry. And he was so broken from himself. Ad sheyatzta nishmato. The Talmud says his soul left his body. And then a voice, a heavenly voice came, and it said, Rebbe Eliezer ben Drudia, welcome to Olam Haba, to heaven. And Rebbe, who heard that voice, who was another, said, wow. And this is all the rabbis will cry. They'd say, wow. Yesh kona olamo bekama shanim. There are people that work for many years to become a righteous man. And there's some people that get the world to come in one moment. And that was this rabbi. And then Rebbe says, not only is about Shuvah that did all the worst things that you can imagine, in the next world they accept him. Not only do they accept him, they even call him a rabbi because he taught the world something. And the explanation is, do you know what the mountain and do you know what he was doing? He felt regret with his whole life. And what happens when you have regret with your life, with things that you did wrong? What do you look to? Yourself or you look outwards? When you do something wrong, who do you look to blame first? Your parents, your environment, right? Other people, right? Whenever you do something wrong, who do you blame first? Others. So that's what he was doing. Rebbe Eliezer ben Drudia, when he got this realization that he's very, very empty in his life, he started looking at the mountains and the hilltops. Do you know what the mountains and the hilltops represent? Harei Mugvaot represent our parents. He was looking back at his parents and he said, parents, it wasn't my fault. Can you ask mercy for me? I was brought up in a certain way. It didn't work out for me. And they said, yeah, we need to ask forgiveness for ourselves. We're not perfect. But at the end of the day, we can't ask forgiveness for you. Meaning you are also a culprit of your mistakes as well. It's true that we have what to be answered for, but you yourself, you make decisions yourself. Heavens and earth. Do you know what the heavens and earth represent? Your surroundings, your atmosphere, your friends, and your atmosphere. You start saying, it's my country that bothers me. It's the place I live and this. Well, they also have to answer for themselves, but it doesn't stop you. It doesn't make you exempt for answering for yourself. The sun and the moon, that represents money. The sun and the moon is what influences Parnassa in the world. It influences the growth and the produce and the money in the world. So he says, I didn't have the right money. Sometimes people blame money. And the money says, well, I've got to answer that for myself. But at the end of the day, you lived in it and you'll have to answer for yourself too. Stars and the moons. Do you know what the stars and the mazalot represent? Your genetics. They represent the influence of your genes. And they say, he starts blaming his genes. I was born angry. I was born upset. Right? This is what we do whenever we start blaming other things. And they say, no, don't worry. Your genes will answer for itself. But you still have to answer for who you became. You know what the Talmud says? If someone's born in a red month, month of Madim, which is Mars, there's certain stars and planets that have an influence on us. If you're born in that month, then he's also going to be a person that's more prone to murder. But it says you can also use it to be a doctor. You can use it. Huh?
Does that mean astrology is real?
Yes, we do feel like it's real, but is it fully real? Is it fully real? No. Meaning, at the end of the day, every human being, yes, it's true you're influenced by your genes. You're influenced by astrology, what month you're born in. You're influenced by the time, the family, everything's influencing you. It's true. And everyone who influenced you will have to be accountable for the way that they influenced you. But doesn't exempt you from still having the responsibility over yourself. And that's what he said. He realized that it doesn't depend. I can't blame my parents. I can't blame anybody. I have to take responsibility of myself, which is when he realized who he was, and that's when he did teshuvah in that moment. So even in a moment, a person can do teshuvah. Okay, there are many stories like this, but I want to finish with this. We are coming to Yom Kippur. And last year, everyone saw, a few days later, what happened. This year, let us come together. Let us ask ourselves, wherever you go, whether you're going to synagogue or not, what can I do different this year? How can I be a better, more wholesome, more awesome, more loving more brilliant Jew. I don't have to be only saying that the soldiers are righteous, that the other people are righteous. I want to be special too. Not, oh, there's a rabbi that's very special. There's a rebbitzin that's special. There's this person. What about me? Why can't I be special? Why can't I be a hero? That's the wish that everybody should have in this room. Okay? Not just a hero in work and making money, but in the work, in the making money, bring heroism there. In that place, you can bring godliness into that place of work. In wherever you are in your life, how can I be a better person? That should be your question for this year. How can I think of myself? What did I do wrong? In any way was I, and how can I just think of it to be better? And one thought can change so much ahead of your time. It could change who you marry 5 years down the line. A good thought can change who you encounter 10 years down the line. Every thought you have that's positive can change 10 years down the line. You think of taking lollipops in your bag and you think, what's the big deal? No, that saves a child. That brings life to a child. That's in the middle of the worst places. You could be doing things that's so small and may seem so insignificant, and yet they are so big. And that starts with thoughts. Your thoughts can be positive or negative. And negative thoughts can make you be in the wrong place, sit with the wrong people, a few weeks later with more wrong people, and actions lead from one to the next, all because of that initial bad negative thought. So your original thoughts of positivity are so important. That's Yom Kippur. That's what Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is. We're starting the year. We want to start it on the best note, with the best thoughts. And when we do that, we will be considered a tzaddik. Who doesn't want to be a tzaddik in this world? Okay, thank you for joining today, and it was very meaningful. And for the prayers that we did, and Be'ezrat Hashem, this evening should be a merit for all our hostages, the 101 hostages to come home when we blow that last shofar on Yom Kippur. Even before that, but when we blow that last shofar on Yom Kippur, that's 102. That last shofar is not going to be anything else but the shofar of bringing all of those 101 that we blew on Rosh Hashanah. We're going to bring them all home. Amen. Okay, thank you for being here. We are an amazing people. Thank you.